As an urban designer, I'm interested in the public environment, the public space, and safety is a key consideration in good public space. Where do we feel safe? This was work done some years ago in Victoria at the Victorian Local Safety Survey, and I reckon we'd probably all sign up to that pretty much. We feel safer at home during the day over here or in our neighbourhood, and public transport at night, probably not. Pretty self-evident, I'd say. But what do the crime statistics tell us? Where crimes against the person actually occur, and these are nasty things that happen to people. 2012-13, we had about nearly 60,000 recorded incidents. 50% of those happened at home. 2% happened on PT. About 20% happened in streets and public spaces. So there's a mismatch there. And why is that? A German study of university students looked at this. They measured those factors up there. They looked at the physical environment, they looked at people's psychological factors, they looked at their gender, and what their history was. Had they ever experienced incidents out in the public environment? And what they looked at, obviously there, was the nature of that physical environment. Were they going to get trapped? Was there an escape route? Could someone hide? They could jump out from behind something. And they also looked at lighting levels. What they found, that the sense of being trapped was the biggest predictor of people's perceptions of fear. Their gender was the next strongest predictor, followed by concealment and lighting. This notion kind of, it's interesting to think about lighting as, okay, we flood a place with lighting, will it necessarily make us feel safer? We know other studies show us that women are 3 times more likely to be scared in the public environment than men, and yet the data suggests that young men are perhaps more likely to get themselves into straits in the public environment. So there is this. It's a very, very complex and rather contradictory or contraindicating beast that we're dealing with. So what works with what? Where there's not a lot of potential for people to be cornered or trapped, then lighting helps. But where, if it's a constrained location where you could get trapped, then dealing with the concealment, the potential for alcoves and too much vegetation and those sorts of things helps. And in those contexts, lighting's not a big help. We want to maximise visibility and surveillance within the public environment. We want to be able to see and be seen. We want to provide clear, direct, comfortable, convenient, amenable connections, whether they be for pedestrians, whether they be for cyclists, public transport users, or even motorists. We want to maximise activity. We feel safer when there are other people around. And we want to clearly define what is public and what is private. Experience shows that we get into trouble when that's not really well defined. Where does the private realm start? Where does the public realm finish? Who's responsible? And then lastly, we need to manage public space, and a lot of you are from councils, and that really falls into your lap. The management of public space, of addressing issues of vandalism or damage or misuse quickly and promptly is important. We've reviewed those design guidelines and we have a draft document which is not ready for release yet. We've been consulting with stakeholders. We've tried to consolidate the urban design guidelines and the safer design guidelines into an integrated, holistic document. The process of creating public spaces is not one of isolation, if you will, between silos. So we've attempted to create as I say, an integrated, holistic document. And it has a series of design objectives with design guidelines. And these are just a few examples from the draft document for your information of approaches to different parts of the public environment. So, for example, where we've got private uses interfacing with the public environment, avoid blank rear or side elevations of buildings fronting onto active frontages onto public spaces. We want to not separate out lines of movement, pedestrian paths from cycle paths from streets, consolidate those, mix them up. We want to make the public space, the pedestrian environment adjacent to buildings feel safe. So again, overlooking, eyes on the street, doorways, windows, those sorts of things. As I mentioned, maintenance and management of the public environment is a very important role for council. Things that are damaged should be quickly replaced or removed. Public parks in particular are something that we haven't always got right. We've tended to put them at the back of places. They're not well integrated into lines of movement and lines of sight and overlooking. So it's important to connect the public space to the surrounding movement network. So entry paths that connect with the rest of the street network. Clear, direct lines of sight, lines of movement through the public space. We feel safer when we know we can see where we're going, we know where we're going. Again, lines of sight, removing opportunities for concealment or entrapment and those sorts of things. And lighting, not easy to get this right. Lighting, it's not just a case of flooding a place with as much light as possible, and perhaps it's an issue of, as we're suggesting here, that we're lighting only those public spaces intended for nighttime use, because you might light a place that's not safe and people then get the impression because it's lit that it is safe. It's a complex area. What makes people feel unsafe? Places without activity that they can't escape from, where someone could hide, and particularly being a woman or a female in a lonely space. What is a safer public space? Where there are other people about, especially women and children. Active uses, we can see and be seen from the surrounding development, and we can come and go.